Imagine this, you are at a party and the table is full of delicious items. Does it really matter what you pick? And let's say you fill your plate with non-vegetarian food. When a friend beside you says, "Hey, how can you eat that? Don't you feel bad for animals?" It's a debate as old as time. What is right, what is wrong? And is eating meat evil? Well, I'm not here to take you on a guilt trip or take sides. I have been thinking about this a lot and I have done tons of research to figure out what is right or what is wrong. And then I came across an interesting philosophy that might have answers to this question. Let's explore this together. Who knows? By the end, you and I might see things in a way we haven't before. Before diving straight into it, let's first start with something fundamental. What is a choice? A choice is simply a decision we make when faced with multiple possibilities. Every day, we are presented with countless choices. What to wear, where to go, and yes, what to eat. But not all choices are created equal. Some impact only us, while others affect the world around us. Now, let's go on a thought experiment. Let's imagine you are on a peaceful walk in the forest. When a wolf steps into your path, it's growling, its posture is aggressive, but it hasn't attacked you yet. And in that moment, you notice that you are holding a sturdy stick or another weapon. What would you do? You could choose to swing your weapon aggressively, harming or even killing the wolf, ensuring that it's no longer a threat. Or you could just simply try scaring it off, avoiding harm if possible. What would you do? This is the first scenario. The wolf hasn't attacked yet, so the harm you cause is entirely in your control. Choosing to scare it off is less violent option. It minimizes the harm while still protecting yourself. Now let's imagine a different scenario. The wolf doesn't just growl, it charges at you. You have only seconds to react. In this case, scaring it off might not feel like a safer option anymore. You may have no choice but to harm it in a self-defense. Your goal is not to kill or cause unnecessary suffering. It's to protect your life in a face of immediate threat. If you notice, these two scenarios highlight an important idea. Violence is sometimes unavoidable, especially when survival is at stake. But even in such moments, we can ask ourselves, how can we minimize harm? Just like in the first case, scaring the wolf is better choice. In the second, defending yourself may require harm, but it's done out of necessity, not cruelty. This is what the philosophy of minimum violence is about. Not avoiding harm entirely, that's not always possible, but making choices that cause the least harm while still addressing the situation. Now, let's take this idea of minimum harm and apply it to a decision most of us make every day, like the food we eat. Unlike the life and death scenario with the wolf, the choices we make about our meal often happen in much calmer circumstances. But does that mean they don't carry consequences? Not at all. Every meal we eat comes from somewhere, and that somewhere often involves other living beings. Eating non-vegetarian food, for example, directly involves pain and suffering and ultimately life of an animal. The question then becomes, is eating meat a necessary choice, like harming a wolf to defend yourself against it? Or is it a choice where harm could be minimized? But then question comes, what is the less violent choice than eating animal? Eating plants? Don't plants also have life? Aren't we still causing harm to living things when we consume them? Well, the truth is, around 60 to 70% of the plant that we eat, like grains, fruits, nuts, and certain vegetables like tomato, cucumber, etc., have already lived their full life cycle. They have grown, matured, and in many cases, have already released their seeds or fruits before we harvest them. So we are simply collecting them at the end of their life. However, with animals, 100% of them feel pain, suffer, and lose their life when consumed. But what about the plants that are harvested midway through their life cycle? 30 to 40% of the plants that we eat, such as root vegetables, bulbs, and certain leafy greens, harvesting occur midway through their life cycle. Many of these plants have a remarkable ability to regrow, continuing their life cycle. Even for those who don't have this ability, the key difference is that they do not experience pain or suffering during harvesting. This is because plants are non-sentient beings. They lack a nervous system, a brain, and pain receptors. Without these complex systems, plants can't feel or suffer in the same way animals or humans do. A very good analogy is cutting your hair. It doesn't hurt because hair, like plants, is made of cells that do not have capacity to sense pain. And when we eat meat, the harm is not just limited to animals. It extends to the resources required to raise them. Animals consume large amount of food, often eating significant quantities of plants to grow. They also require water and land, resources that frequently come at the expenses of destroying ecosystem. And in contrast, eating plants involve fewer steps, resulting in significantly less harm overall. Yes, plants lose their life in this process. But as we have discussed earlier, violence cannot always be avoided. As humans, we also need food to survive. And choosing plant-based options still represent a path of significantly reduced harm compared to the alternatives. Now, you might be thinking, hey wait, this all sounds great, but what about nutrition? Can a plant-based diet really provide me everything my body needs? The answer is yes, but it does require some planning. With the abundance of resources and information available today, you can easily create a well-balanced nutritional diet. So, is eating non-veg wrong? The answer is not straightforward yes or no. It depends on the situation. Consider the example of wolf. If it's just staring at you, you have an option to take a path of less violence. But if the wolf is attacking you and survival is at stake, then defending yourself, even if it means harming the wolf, might be the least violent option given the circumstances. Similarly, in life, there are situations where avoiding non-veg food might not be feasible. For instance, let's say you're stuck in an environment where plant-based options are unavailable due to various factors, or your survival depends on consuming what is at hand. Then eating non-veg food becomes the minimum violence options in that context. You might be thinking, but we go through so many decisions every day. If we start scrutinizing every single action, won't we go crazy trying to make a perfect choice? And you are right. While it's important to reduce the harm where possible, we also have to consider our own survival and mental peace. Life is complicated. There is only so much energy and attention we can give in every single action we take. The key is balance, making mindful choices without letting them overwhelm us. And the most important thing to remember here is minimum violence isn't just about food choices. It applies to many actions we take in our daily lives. How we treat people, how we speak to them, how we handle difficult situations. All of these are opportunities where harm can be reduced. Even in the moment of conflict, we have choices. We can say harsh and hurtful words, or we can keep our mind calm and try to resolve the situation peacefully. So the goal is not to live a perfect life with a zero harm. It's about being aware of the impact of our actions and trying to reduce violence wherever possible. But we also have to be kind to ourselves and accept that sometimes the least violent choice may not always be the easiest or most straightforward. If you are interested in such thought-provoking philosophical content, please subscribe to my channel. Don't forget to like and share this video with your friends. I'll catch you in the next one. Goodbye.